Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if this is the first time you're watching. My name is Jenny and I'm going to be doing a tag today, a tag that I've been excited to do since I first started BookTube, and it is called the Time for Tea and Books tag. And the originator of this tag is Beth from Butterfly Elephant Books, but I first saw it on Claudia from Spinster's Libraries channel. The first question is choosing your tea. What genres do you tend to lean towards reading? I can definitely work my genres down in a more organized way than I ever have before after being on YouTube and watching YouTube for years now. And I would say historical fiction, literary fiction, and memoir are my top three. And then in each question, there's a tea question that goes along with it. What kinds of tea do you lean towards? I like black teas in the morning, and my favorite black teas are chai, which means that they are a black tea blended with specific spices, cardamom, pepper, fennel sometimes. I love chai as prepared traditionally in India, and I love variations of chai based on different areas. For instance, I drink Saigon chai, which is a blend from David's Tea, which is a Canadian company. I'm not sure how widespread they are around the world, but their Saigon chai is reminiscent of a Vietnamese style of drinking chai with condensed milk, and I don't do that, but I love the flavor of the Saigon chai. What book made you feel gripped by the main character's plight? And for that, I picked In the Time of the Butterflies by Julia Alvarez. And this was set during the dictatorship in the Dominican Republic of the 1960s. The dictator terrorized the Dominican Republic, and of course, under many of these types of political regimes, there were people who died and who were imprisoned unfairly, and there was a lack of justice. And the Mirabal sisters all had a role to play in this story. One of them studied law and was very politically active. Another one was more involved in kind of the grassroots movement of organizing. The oldest sister was much more traditional. She just wanted to get married and have her family and be a religious woman, but she ends up getting wrapped up in it too. And then the fourth sister is the narrator of the story, and she is the survivor. She's the one that didn't lose her life in her battle. So this is a true story, but it is fictionalized, so there's parts of it that the author embellished and changed. And this is another subgenre of writing that I really enjoy. I don't really need all the facts. I think some people, they want to know, if they read something, they want it to be the whole truth. They don't want some sort of a version of a story. They want the actual factual version, and I totally understand why you'd feel that way. But for me, I really enjoy the subtleties of story and the interpretation that an author can put on a real life story, because oftentimes you don't really know, even if you wrote a factual book, a nonfiction book about this story, the author would kind of make assumptions or add in some impressions of what they think happened. And so in this case, it's an author, saying, like, this is a version of this story, and you will hear many other versions, and some parts I may have made up, and some parts are factual. If you want to know more, you can figure that out for yourself. So I really got caught up in their plight. I hoped upon hope, even though I knew how it ended, that they wouldn't be killed by the dictators crazy pursuing them, but they were, and it was tragic. Do you prefer hot or iced tea? Always hot, always hot. I will drink iced tea occasionally, especially in the summer if it's very, very warm, or if it's herbal and it's flavored and it has more of a fruity flavor, then I really like that as iced tea. But yeah, hot tea is always going to be my preference. Brew time. What book improved over time or after rereading? For this, I picked The Sun by Philip Meyer. This is a family saga, and I do really enjoy family sagas. It is set in Texas from the 1800s up until I think the 1950s, so it follows 3 or 4 generations of the same family, the same settler white family who are living in Texas during the time they're interacting with First Nations. They are trying to establish themselves. They become a family of oil moguls, and so you flip back from the current day where this kind of last surviving member is on their homestead and is very rich from the oil proceeds that they have received, and then you flip back and forth to some of the earlier members of the family's generation. And I didn't think that, like, I enjoy family sagas and I enjoy historical fiction, obviously, so that's what drew me into the story. I was not totally wrapped up in it. I wasn't loving it by any means, but there was something about it that kept me moving, and I think it was the quality of the writing. I think the writing was just done in a solid, very genuine way, and that just kept me moving through the book, and it's made the book stay with me. I don't think I gave this book a super high rating when I was finished it, but it definitely improved as it went on, and I definitely have kept the story. How much milk do you add is the tea question for number 3. So I would say I add 1/4 of an inch of milk. What are your favorite actual and accidental bookmarks? I've just recently, in the last 2 or 3 years, started seeking out bookstores when I go traveling. So I'll look for usually a secondhand used bookstore, but I'll also go to new bookstores. And this has been really, really fun. It's become one of my favorite souvenirs to get when I am traveling. So I have just 3 examples here of those bookmarks. So these are bookmarks from actual bookshops that they put in the book as a little memorabilia. So obviously they're not very sturdy bookmarks, but they work just fine. I have some kind of more sentimental bookmarks that I've gotten as gifts. So these 3 were all gifts. So this one was from my mother. This one was also from my mother. This one has my last name on it and my crest and the tartan of our family, our Scottish tartan. And this one was from a special little party that my best friend threw for me when I was pregnant with my second son. And the theme of the party was kind of the wolf, and so this bookmark is from that. So these are just kind of sentimental bookmarks that I have. This is my favorite bookmark right now. This is a wood veneer bookmark with the laser cut out of the bee, and it's from the New York Botanical Garden. And my husband Dave got this for me when he was in New York for work. So I just love the texture of this wood veneer. It's very soft and it stays in the books quite well. So this is my current favorite. In the milk and sugar prompt, number 4, they ask you 1 lump or 2. I do not put sugar in tea. That is one area that I try to avoid sugar. I would say I am definitely addicted to sugar. I love sweet things. I have quite a sweet tooth. And so for me, if I can prevent myself from putting sugar into something and still really enjoy the taste, then I will try to do that. And tea is one of those things that I've weaned sugar out of for myself. So I do not put sugar in tea ever. I might put some honey into a ginger tea if I have a sore throat or if I have a cold, but that's more of a medicinal thing. I do not tend to need to sweeten tea. That's one area that I find is quite easy to reduce your sugar if you're struggling with that, which I have been for years and still am, to be honest. Number 5 is the perfect tea set. Do you display your books? or keep them hidden. I do not know why anyone would keep their books hidden. I display them. They are displayed. They are all around my house. There are piles of books around my house all the time. Usually my kids leave piles of books laying around, but I do sometimes as well if I'm preparing for a video or if I'm just getting back from the library. There's just piles of books everywhere. I love books as objects in and of themselves. I love them as the functional, transporting objects that they are. So I would never hide them unless they're gifts for someone that I need to keep hidden. And even then I find that hard. So no hiding them. Do you have a favorite mug, cup, teapot, etc.? So yes, I do. And I'm going to show them to you. And I'm going to try to be brief about them and not talk about them too long because I could be here for an hour talking about mugs and cups and things. So I have come in the last few years to realize that I prefer to drink tea out of china. It was something that was sort of developing. I noticed when we were children and we would use my mom's china to eat off of that the food tasted different. And I only just realized and connected that once I was given a set of china mugs that drinking out of china changes the flavor of the tea, and it is a flavor that I prefer. So for my 40th birthday, my friend Liz bought me this china mug, and I do have a whole set of china mugs, and they are all, this one just coincidentally matched the other set, but they are all have images of Van Gogh's paintings on them. So this one comes with a cover, which I don't usually use as a cover. I usually use it as a little stand because it comes with the tea strainer. So I will put my milk in, I will put the strainer in the top, put my loose tea in, pour in my hot water, and let it steep for 5 minutes. And then I will pull this out. I will set it in the little top because I usually have a second cup, and then I drink my tea. The only exception to that, I would say, is my best friend made me a mug because she's a potter, and I loved that mug as well. Unfortunately, it cracked, and so she's making me a new one. So that would be my only exception to not drinking out of china, but that is my preference. I will drink out of ceramic. I'm not that much of a snob, but if I'm at home and I'm making it my way, then I have china. This is probably my favorite teacup, like traditional teacup and saucer. This is a Winterling from Bavaria, Germany. It was made. And I just love the black and the gold, and it has a beautiful rose on the inside. And there's actually a great story that goes along with this teacup. This teacup was purchased by my grandmother at a flea market that I went to with her when I was probably 10 years old. I really don't remember how old I was. And when she bought this, she haggled with the person selling it to get him down on the price. And I remember just being fascinated watching her do this because I'd never seen my parents haggle on anything. And I was just so impressed that she, stuck to her guns and got the guy to lower the price to what she felt this was worth. And so it sat in her china cabinet for many years. And she, my grandmother is 95, I believe. And she has started to decide to give things that she wants to give to her grandchildren now before she dies. And so she sent this for me because she knew that I loved it and it had a special memory connected with a time we spent together. So this is a very important. I've actually never drank tea out of this. This is more of something that I keep as a beautiful object. This beautiful tea pot that I have from my best friends. It comes with its own warmer, so you can put a tea light candle in there and light that and set it on top to keep your tea warm. It has the glass insert for loose tea, and it's just this beautiful glass teapot. And they gave me this as a wedding shower present. So it's a wonderful teapot. It pours very nicely, and it keeps the tea obviously at a nice temperature when you have the tea lights. So those are some of my tea things, and I have more, but I don't want to go on and on about tea things. This is actually a book video. Number 6, sip and sigh. Is there a book that makes you feel cozy immediately? For this, I'm going to talk about a series of books, and that is the Olive Farm series by Carol Drinkwater. I began reading those books when I was going to France in 2016, and the first one just transported me to her olive farm outside of Cannes in southern France, and every time I read one, I am transported back there. I've read 3 of the books now, and I think there's 5 or 6 in total in the series, and I don't want to read them all too fast because then they'll be over, but I love the way she writes, and it is definitely a memoir style that she does, so it makes me feel very cozy and transported back to southern France. Though she evokes southern France very, very well. Favorite setup for drinking tea? I think I've probably already covered that one, which is how I make my tea. I drink tea. It's part of my morning. It's part of my waking up. It's part of my grounding process. In the winter, I tend to drink more because it's colder and rainier. In the summer, less, just because I don't need to be overheated anymore. And it's so integrated into every part of my day. It's just a huge part of my life. Last question is number 7, Another Cup. A book you are currently reading or you plan to read next. So I just started last night, Company Town by Madeline Ashby. This book was on the 2017 Canada Reads, I believe, which is a CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation production. They do every year. They have this radio, and it's also recorded and put out on their website, competition where they narrow the books down from the year into 7 books, 6 books, 6 or 7 books. They pick a kind of Canadian celebrity to read the book and champion the book, and then they have a kind of debate style elimination where they all sit around a table and talk about each other's books and trash talk and strategically vote and do all those kind of reality television-esque things in order for one book to win. And Company Town did not win, but it got quite close to the end, and I just, ever since I saw the episodes about it, I was intrigued by it. It is a futuristic dystopian novel set on an oil rig type town outside of Newfoundland, and you follow Hua, who is a person who was born without being genetically engineered, survive in this culture that is very toxic and difficult towards people who haven't had body alterations. So I've really just started, so I don't have a huge knowledge to share what's happening in the book, but it is considered to be kind of a thriller mystery. It's very action-packed, so it's very pacey, which is great. It's kind of what I was looking for and why I decided to read this one right now. I think I already answered the Another Cup tea question, which is how often do you drink tea? So I drink tea every day. If any of you who are watching this are tea lovers, I would encourage you to do a tea and books tag, and I will be back very soon with another video. Thanks so much for watching.